Welcome back, my friends, to the Sweet Spot, where IT leaders share the insight with other leaders and others that want to lead. My name is Carlos Vargas, and as in every week, I have my two co-hosts, Howard Holton and Paul Lewis.
Hey there.
What you doing? We're
I
back.
was in, I was informed not more than 1 hour ago that my family requires an emergency Disney vacation, which
What?
we shall do within the next 14 days.
What does an emergency Disney vacation look like for you? We haven't been in at least like 4 weeks. We must go to Disney.
I was there in April.
What happened?
Well, I was there in April, and we did some rides, and then I was down, of course, in July to take my oldest to start her Disney program.
It is currently July. I was
Yeah, I
there
was
in
gonna
July.
say.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I was there moments ago.
Earlier in July.
Yeah,
But it was just me, in fairness. It wasn't my son nor my wife. And I was informed today that we might have to do a preschool Disney adventure.
Right. So I think our listeners should take note. Right. If you have any plans to be an executive, these are the kind of executive emergencies that one has. Right. It's
right.
also kind of the parent emergencies that one has. My daughter got a new job. Right. She's still in college. I believe getting her CS degree.
Nice. Look at her.
And she's got a job as a cart girl on a golf course.
Mm-hmm.
Pays for minimum wage. It pays very well.
Serving beverages and snacks.
Yes, I care about that 0%. What I care about instead is, as cart girl, she gets full member privileges to the golf course.
Wow.
So dad
Ooh,
gets to go with
that's
her and
nice.
golf for free, and she gets a cart for free. She gets half off at the restaurant. So dad is very excited about going to play golf at a golf club I can no longer afford a membership at.
those are the benefits that you try to steer your kids. Go and work somewhere that I can get some benefits. So, I'm trying to get my kid to work at Best Buy or something else so I can get some discounts.
Did I mention
Well,
the 50% friends and family rate at Disney?
You do not. How do I become a friend?
You just have to be a friend. There you go.
Okay, I think we need to talk codes sometime
Codes.
later.
I have a spare bedroom
Yeah.
that you can stay.
That seems like a long commute every morning.
long drive.
Yeah. Well, if you're coming down, you need to be aware that the temperatures are around 105, 110.
Oh, I won't be there till October. Paul's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will also be there in October, but that's a standard Thanksgiving trip.
It's a little early for Thanksgiving.
Oh, Canadian Thanksgiving.
So not real Thanksgiving.
No. I do find it
much like
hilarious.
your dollar is 40% off of ours, your Thanksgiving
That's
is also
right.
40% off of ours.
If there was a Disney in Canada, how much you would save would be unbelievable.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'd go to that Disneyland every time.
Because it'd be cold in the winter, but it'd be fun.
Wow, whatever.
I find it hilarious that your daughter is getting a CS degree after the very last episode we did.
We had a lot of traction on that one.
When I seem to remember your perspective was
Yeah.
that it wasn't a requirement.
It was not a requirement. However, motivation is, and some people find motivation in a college degree.
I see.
Yeah,
Some
that's
people
true.
need that kind of structure to get them on their way. Some people don't. Right? If you're
So-
developing, 20 gigabyte Skyrim expansions in your bedroom, your basement, your whatever, your man cave, your whatever it is, you don't likely need a CS degree. Right. And there are people that do that make beautiful plugins for their favorite video game that get a heck of a education at UHK from it.
Hey, we have do you remember? They released a certification program. UHK.
Did you send out the batch?
Yeah, they have a batch now. So, when you said the motivation, I started thinking, when we go out to a conference or something, there has to be some kind of logic that you go through to get ready before you go. I know that I'm getting ready for one that I'm going at the end of August and then one at the end of September. And I actually even have like a digital tablet now with code that is going to be working on it. So I'm planning some things, but what the heck do you guys do to all the events that you go, how do you prepare? What do you do before as an attendee? Not 2%. What do you do so you can get the maximum out of it?
I've never been to a conference. I'm not sure I have an opinion.
So one of the first things I do is figure out who else is going and book meetings. Right. My conference days are 50% booked meetings. Right. I mean, especially considering now I can watch all the content later if I want. Right. There's very little content that I must catch live. I try to always make the keynotes live because that tends to be the kind of the big vendor reveals. But otherwise, it's really about one-on-ones. The more one-on-ones I can get, the more value I get because I steer that conversation. Right. I drive that conversation.
Yeah, keynotes live are 100% important to me. I need to go to each one of the daily keynotes at the very least to help determine if there should be any breakout sessions I go to. Because sometimes they word the breakouts based on what they already know the keynote to be, right? So they already have the 4 pillars of the content, and they've already segregated the breakouts that way, and you just don't really know where you're saying it. When I go to a conference, I spend most of the time in preparation on logistics, right? Because the reality is none of us go to a conference and have no other work to do. Right? We still have day jobs in many ways. And as much as you could try to narrow that window by canceling the obvious reoccurring ones you don't need to do, you still have to fit in some of those meetings.
Yep.
And if the venue is not where the room is, then you've got to fit in time to get back and forth. Right. And if you kind of luck out that if the conference is West Coast and you're East Coast, you can manage some of the time differences. But it just means you're waking up at 4:30 every day to manage some of the East Coast content in order to spend all day. Right. So there's logistics of where you're staying, logistics of where the meetings are, logistics on getting back and forth to your room, logistics of what the party's going to be, determining where you're going to eat every night. That's important to me.
That's
Where
pretty high.
the Starbucks is located.
Where the Starbucks is located. That's a brilliant example. Yes.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, so that coffee shop at the Venetian that's underneath the escalator.
Yep.
The
Bouchon.
basement.
Bouchon Cafe. Yep.
So I stayed at the Venetian last time I was in Vegas, and
Yes.
where the rooms come down and the elevator you walk out is right there.
Oh, so that you have that side of you're in that tower.
Yes, and so you're immediately you have immediate first morning access to the cafe, which is awesome.
Bouchon is awesome.
Yeah, their oatmeal raisin cookies might be the best oatmeal raisin cookies I've ever had.
It's a decent croissant too. So yeah, for me it's logistics, right? Because you got to figure out what your week looks like, figure out how to get from place to place, and if you're lucky enough or purposely determined that you're going to stay in the same resort as the conference, then you're fine. But if, like me, you still are loyal to a brand, right, and the conference hotel isn't your brand, then you're much more likely to transfer back and forth between the conference and that.
I mean, even if the conference doesn't meet your corporate travel restrictions, or you just don't want to stay at the conference hotel because you prefer another hotel, right? Those logistics do become really important.
Yep.
And in a place like Vegas, they become extremely important because conference season is weighted heavily towards the summer when it's cheaper to put 25,000 of your closest friends in the same room. And Vegas is 105 or 110 or like it was 114 or something when I was there 2 weeks ago.
And you dare not go outside. So it's
no, I didn't step outside even once.
You're stuck in the venue regardless.
Yeah. No, when it's that hot, I do nothing fun at all.
I think I participate in conferences differently. So of the conference to which I would be, I think for loosely term, the buyer at, I would spend more time in meetings as you're suggesting, right? Because I want to see what's on the floor. I want to meet with people that's on the floor. I want to see who the venue host is, right? The Google, Microsoft, whoever's. I want to meet with their executives or their product team or their solution teams. It's going to be a lot of meetings. Or where I'm in a partner, like Google Next as an example, then there's also partner conversations and customer conversations as much as other ISVs, right? But if I'm going to a conference that I'm the consumer of content and it's not as me, the buyer or of the seller, like a Gartner, then I spend much more time maximizing the amount of breakouts I go to.
Oh
Now-
yeah.
Yeah.
I do the same thing, right? When it's topic focused, not vendor focused, I do the same thing. Right. Although the Gartner one is a little bit odd in that I also don't expect to know the same number of people that are there that I know at other major tech conferences. Right. It's a little bit more niche. And so the number of executives that I'll know at a Gartner conference, the other number of other attendees or presenters that I will know is far fewer.
Hmm.
So I'll be much more focused on the content at that conference than I will at frankly anything else that I go to.
What I will do is pre-book speakers that I know, even if it's topic independent. In other words, maybe I'm less interested in the particular topic, but I know the speakers very well what they do. And even if it's just an adjacent conversation or an adjacent topic that's interesting, I'll still go.
Yeah,
I'll leave most of the rest of the schedule blank until I hear the keynote. From then, it gives me an appreciation of what other breakouts I need to go to.
Yeah, I would 100% recommend checking out the speaker, not the topic, not ever the topic, not even once. Right. No matter how interested you are, at the very least, like if you're like, I'm super interested in this topic, holy crap, I really want to see this. Google the speaker, watch something else they've done on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Right. See if their style resonates, because tech speakers are not chosen based on quality.
True. Now, do you know as many speakers at a pure tech conference or a pure security conference as you would a pure analyst conference?
I don't know squat at a pure analyst conference. I'm still
Okay.
too new to that field, so I know far more that are pure tech, pure security.
And when you go to those, do they work for the vendor to which is being presented, or they work for other organizations?
No, mostly other organizations.
Okay. So you're not going there to listen to the VP of product at Microsoft. You're going to hear some other person.
Yeah, not generally. Although I have one-on-ones with a VP of product at Microsoft.
So in your meeting time allocation, let's say it's a technology company conference like a Microsoft or Google. What percentage of your time will be with the technology provider or with ISVs or with customers of the technology provider?
It depends. I would say at the low end, 30 to 40%, but much more commonly 70 to 80%. Right? Because for the most part, the biggest conferences they don't belong to a single tech vendor. And when they do, right? When they do, there's so many other people to meet that I meet with them 30, 40%. When it's smaller, like say there's 5,000 attendees or less, then 80% of my time will be spent with the specific vendor.
Okay, so if you go to a vendor specific conference, 80% of your time is with that vendor versus ISVs and customers.
If it's say 5,000 or under attendees.
Okay. But if it's a big conference, 30,000 people, then you're dividing and conquering.
30%. It's very much divide and conquer. Right. And I try to reserve some time for people that I don't even have a meeting scheduled with that I just run into. Right. Like I ran into our buddy Dennis Dean, Sean McDonald. Right. I run into probably, especially at big conferences, I'll run into 10 people that I know just running into them on the expo floor.
It smells like a VMware conference. Is that true?
No, that was RSA.
RSA. How about the floor? How much time do you spend on the floor? I have changed over my career. Over my 30 years, I have waned and waxed over my time on the floor.
If I'm not in the hotel and if my butt's not in a seat, I'm on the expo floor. I'm pretty heavy on the expo floor. I guard my badge like it's made out of gold though.
Turn it over.
Yeah, I don't generally allow it to get scanned if I'm not really interested in being contacted. And if I let them scan my badge, I make sure that there are specific notes so they know who should contact me and how. Right. When I was more of a buyer, I would remove the RFID tag from my badge. And if I couldn't separate it from the badge, I'd put my badge in my pocket.
Interesting.
Right. Because they default scan and I'm not a huge fan.
And you don't want to be you don't want to receive content after the fact?
It's just one more thing I have to delete. How does that help anybody? You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna, if I didn't ask you to contact me, I'm not gonna open it. I'm just gonna, it just goes straight in the trash can.
So you're on the floor. Are you getting product demos? Are you asking questions? Are you meeting with executives? Are you exploring things you've never heard of? Like, are you more likely to go to a booth that you know or booth that you don't know?
So I'll swing by every booth that I know to see if anybody that I know is there.
Okay.
Right. But then I'm also really looking for who's new. Like I spend a lot of my time in the dark side, right? I spend a lot of my time in the emerging tech area where they don't have all the fancy banners and the big booths,
Right.
right? Because I'm interested to see kind of who are they, what do they do, and I'll ask a lot more questions. I'm far more interactive on that side, right? So what do you guys do? Why is it special? You know, all that sort of stuff. And I've done that for a decade, right? I did that as a buyer too, because that's a really good area to get a little bit of a leg up on kind of not only what's coming, right? So it can be a little bit early, but also if you're in the SMB space, right? If you're under $1 billion in revenue, that's a great way to be a big fish in a small pond, right? That's a great way to be of strategic value to somebody, is to go there. And let's be honest, if they're any good, they're going to get acquired. They're going to get funded, right? The likelihood today that somebody really good is going to just disappear is low. Right. And so there's a lot of value for me to be found there. Plus, even if I don't buy, if I establish a relationship with them then, and in 2 years later they have a big, massive booth because they've exploded, they're likely to recognize me. They're likely to remember me.
Right.
Right. So I spend a lot of time there. And then, yeah, I'm looking for who's new and who's changed. And really, since the last time I saw them, how has their messaging changed? Because that's often an indicator that they're fishing. And I'm always attentive to fishing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I try to avoid the quads, right? The big booths with lots of people in it.
Yeah, I don't spend any time
Mostly because you're swimming in a much bigger pond. It's just not helpful. Plus, any demonstrations they're showing are demonstrations you can see anywhere. I could easily go right to their website, see the exact same demonstrations.
Well, they have
very less
people at every one of those booths, and they tend to not have the executives you want to talk to anyways, because they are so big, right? So you know, so I tend to skip the biggest booths, right? Like if you were to use the booth as directions for someone else to find you at another booth, I'd skip that booth.
Right, we're right across from the Microsoft booth.
Correct. We're right across from the Microsoft booth. We're right across from the IBM booth. We're right across from the VMware booth, right? Their booths tend to be too big, and it tends to be too hard to find anybody that's really worth engaging with,
Right.
In a way that couldn't just be easily replicated after the show.
Right. Do you you'd stick around for a demo? You'd see, especially of the smaller organizations to which you find interesting. I'd absolutely do that. They likely have a technologist there and a business seller person there, which is okay because we like to see. I agree with you that I like to see the changes in messaging, because if all of a sudden they have a Gen AI message and 3 months ago they didn't, you're going to wonder why, right? Clearly they don't. They're just saying that they do, and that's something to note in your head as you're walking by. Do you visit the sessions that are on the floor, those 15-minute sessions?
Some, right? Especially if I know who the speaker is, right? I'll often know the speaker, or if it's someone from research.
Yeah.
Right. There's a couple of orgs that all of their talks on the floor are people from research talking about the research that they did, especially at security conferences.
Right.
I almost always listen to those.
I actually find those far more valuable. Because they're bite-sizable, right? 15, 20 minutes. They only have time to tell you the good stuff. Right? There's not a lot of fluff, which is great. It's a much smaller venue, and if you wanted to, you can easily talk to every single speaker. Right? Because they have a line of people, but it's 5 people long, not 30 people long, right? So you could easily go see them. And you always get a good view, right? You're not in the back. Like everybody can hear. It's great. And they happen so frequently, you could grab any break at any time and watch one. Versus some of the breakouts are, a 30-minute walk away.
Yeah. So I think the takeaway that I would give everyone is, when you're in person at a conference, maximize your ability to create an impact and build a relationship.
Yeah.
Either direction, right? Either walk away with, this is someone I want to talk to more, or this is someone who wants to talk to me more. Build those relationships. Really, really work on that, right? If all you're doing is trying to get a t-shirt and some socks, just tell them, I just want the t-shirt and the socks. They'll just give it to you.
Right.
Right. Nobody wants to take it home. And really, if that's what you want to do, go the last day, right before it closes, and say, how many of these things can I take home so you don't have to take them home?
Right.
Right. On that note, there is only one thing I ever take home from conferences.
Yeah.
I will take your book if the author is present and will sign it.
Interesting.
I'm an avid reader. Voracious would be the term I like. So I read just about anything I get my hands on. And there have been many times I have read the book on the flight home.
Have they ever provided you with the digital copy instead of the physical copy?
So sometimes I actually prefer the physical copy
Interesting.
in that case. Yeah. I don't like digital tech books. I make notes. I write in the book.
I see. So you
For-
ruin it.
Yes, I ruin it. That is that is exactly correct. For me, they're like a textbook,
I see.
and so it's really helpful to be able to make contextual notes. Nonfiction and fiction books that I read for pleasure, I will never make a note in that. That'd be like defacing the Bible. I would never consider doing that. Right. However, tech books and like business books, things I'm learning from, yeah, I make notes of this all the time.
So what do you do for a break? It's hard to go to a conference from 7 a.m. to midnight, right? So what's your break time? What do you do? Where do you refocus? Where do you get your energy back? What's the
So it's seldom, not impossible, but it's seldom that I'm on premise for my hotel room.
Hmm.
Generally, the hotel's half a mile away or more, right? And so what I do is nothing. I burn until I'm done, and then I leave, and I don't come back. That's what I do.
Fair enough.
Right? I don't leave for I don't. I may leave for lunch depending on where it's at. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
convention lunches tend to be terrible. So
You don't like the chicken?
no.
There's always a chicken with the bone, right? You have to eat around the bone.
I don't mind eating around the bone. I'm really good at picking around it, but the flavor is not good. I'm not down.
Do you stick around for the happy hour?
Depends
I
on who's
never
doing
do. I've never once stuck around for
it.
happy
But why would you? You don't drink.
Well, I don't like the networking aspect of it. It's just not in my personality.
Yeah, it depends. It depends if there's somebody that I know that I want to connect to, that I want to hang out with, I'll go. But I don't. I'm not a cocktail party networker.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm likely to find one or two people and then hang with one or two people, and when I'm done hanging with them, I leave.
But you're not gonna to work the room.
Not unless I'm paid to.
Right, unless it's your job, unless it's your meeting, right? Your event, then you kind of have to work.
And I have done those, and I have been paid to do those, and I'm happy to do those. And I did one last week in New York. That's why I was out in New York, and I think that's great. But for the most part, no. Right. But when I put on the uniform of someone who needs to do that, right, who needs to work the room, I can work the room just fine. But when it comes to me, no, I don't work the room. I don't like to.
Yeah,
That's
me
me.
either.
It's really weird.
I refuse. I do take breaks frequently because it's hard to be on that often.
Right. You picked up an invisible smoking habit?
That period of time. Well, if by that you mean latte, then yes, that's my habit. Now, sometimes I leave the venue, i.e., there's a local Starbucks, or of course Venetian. You get you get Bouchon, or sometimes booze have like their own like latte machine, right?
Yes.
Espresso machine, and I'll go into that booth as many times as I can, even if I don't want to buy their product.
There was one at RSA this last year. No, it wasn't RSA. Oh, CNCF last year in Detroit. They had the best coffee setup I've ever
Oh, nice.
seen on the floor, right? Because for the most part, like I think 75% of them are like an espresso machine or a K-cup machine. Right. That's I don't go to that. So I don't even bother. But they had one that had like serious baristas and a real good variety of coffees. They had a Mexican chocolate coffee. They had a masala chai coffee, and then they had another one that was like a green tea cappuccino kind of thing.
Wow, fancy.
And it's going to sound terrible, but I got in the habit of waving to people that didn't know me and go, yeah, I'll be there in just a minute. I'm going to need 4. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
Right. At the SAP Sapphire, we the espresso machine was in the ASAG booth, right? That's their user community. So I have a habit of going to the ASAG executive saying, could I have a roll of drink tickets, please? So that in my pocket, I had easily 50 tickets at any one period of time.
Yep,
I
get
could be
that.
beveraged up constantly.
Yeah, I get
Now,
that. I will stay.
Yeah.
Freaking stay hydrated. It is so easy to get worn out. Stay hydrated. Also, nobody cares what you have on your feet. Wear comfortable shoes.
that is an excellent point. Yes.
Right. I used to be famous for carrying a backpack everywhere that I go.
Yeah.
Right? So I always had my laptop. Now, even as a tech analyst, I carry a Logitech MX Mini keyboard and an iPad Mini and a mouse with me. That's what I carry everywhere.
It stays in your jacket until you need it.
It stays in a little tiny sling that tosses over my shoulder. Right?
Yeah, I absolutely carry nothing. I carry my phone, and I'm hoping somebody's with me to take notes.
See, I have to carry my diabetes stuff with me.
Right, that's
So-
true. Yeah.
And then I carry medication for other stuff all the time, and so I'm all like that doesn't fit in my pocket. It's just too big.
Right.
So since I'm going to carry a small bag anyways, I'll bring something to take notes with.
Hmm.
That's it. But and that's part of my job, right? Like I have to take notes in the keynote, as an example, right? Like
Now, a good portion of your time and energy is dinners.
yeah.
Dinners can be work related. Dinners can be personal. What's your go to? You're at a conference 5
they're
days long. You
100%.
got 4 dinners. What
Nope,
do you
they're
do?
100% always work related.
100%.
Can't,
So
yeah,
you
I can't-
always
I
bring
can't-
somebody. No,
I can't expense a personal dinner.
fair enough. They're always work. I just mean there's work for the purpose of buying and selling, or work for the purpose of chatting about work. It's,
I'm not in sales, so that tends to be like I want to have dinner with somebody I find interesting.
okay.
And it can be a customer prospect, but I'm not there to sell them. I'm there to be sold, right? I'm there to meet somebody and again, right, build that relationship.
So there's no dinners on your own. It's work, always work.
No. I'll definitely do dinners on my own. It just depends on the conference. Like Black Hat's coming up, I expect to have 0 free nights.
Right.
Right?
Oh.
0.
So how about post dinner? Like I'm done. Once dinner's over, my night is over. You've hit my limit for the day. I'm now
Depends.
mentally exhausted.
Yeah, it just depends.
Oh. So you could keep going. You could do another 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, I've done 1 a.m. Vegas nights at a conference before.
Yeah, I can't
you
do
know?
it.
2
I
a.m.
don't have that in me.
It just depends, right?
I want dinner
No-
at 6 and in bed at 9. So that's
Yeah.
what I want to happen.
Oh, see, I my bedtime is 11 o'clock, right? So move me an hour early. My bedtime is now 12.
Right.
Don't ask me to be up and around at 8 a.m. Pacific time though. Like I'm not interested in that shit at all.
Right. You're up at 4:30 doing an Eastern Standard Time meeting?
No.
I see.
No, I don't do those now. Why would I do those at a conference? That just seems like more work for no benefit to me.
So I only have one exception to everything we just said.
Okay.
If I'm in a conference at, let's say, Disney World, then the likelihood that in the evenings I'm at a park is 100%.
Correct.
Which means not only am I not at the beveraging, the happy hours, I'm already in the park during the time the happy hour started.
Correct. I am counting the seconds.
Yeah.
Right. And at some point, I'm going to determine the rest of the day will not be as engaging at the conference as it will be at the park, and I will go to the park.
That's correct.
And I don't even have the same love for the park that you do. Right.
That is true.
But it's still like I don't know.
Yeah.
I will never forget going to Universal with a few of the enterprise architects.
Yeah.
When we were at Gartner CIO Symposium.
Right.
Was it 2018 or 2019?
Sure.
It had to be 18 because I was still heavily using the cane.
Yeah.
And Louis Caron
Louis Carrel. Yep.
was with
Fine
us.
Canadian.
Right? A wonderful gentleman. And he was hanging out with me, right? And we're going from place to place, and he's like, "Holy crap! Howard, I've been following you around the conference floor, and you walk like crap because of that damn cane. Here we get to Universal, and we're having to run to keep up with you." I'm
There's
like,
only
yes,
so
sir.
many hours you got. You got to get.
There are no lines. I'm not fucking around. We are moving. Let's go. Let's go.
We're moving.
It takes too much energy. Let's go.
We're hitting every ride in it.
Every ride we want to hit, we will hit.
Right.
Right. And honestly, that's what I again, engagement, right? I want to make the time valuable.
That's
That being
actually an
said,
excellent point. I said I go to bed at 9 every day, but on the conferences that are in Orlando, that you have not a free evening, but the conference includes an evening at one of the parks. I'm there to closing of the park.
yeah, I'm there till I can get that.
It might be midnight, but I
Yeah.
want to maximize the free food and the easy
The
ride
bus
lights.
is gonna leave. I don't care. I got an Uber.
That's right. I know to get home.
It's
Don't
all
worry.
right here. I know how to find an Uber. It's fine.
That's right.
Matter of fact, I will frequently not take the bus and take an Uber instead because
Just for your
tends to be
convenience.
a nicer experience in general.
Yeah.
I can control when I come. I can control when I leave.
Smart.
So we talk about before, we talk during, a little bit late, but then what do you do after? You spend a week, you probably consume, or there were things you said, I will catch it up later. What do you guys do after the conference to probably share it, to learn from it, or whatever else you do?
I do my best to build a deck, right? Build a deck of the interesting thoughts I took down. Every single keynote, I'm writing out interesting things, right? I won't take pictures because for the most part, you have the deck, right? So you can just take a picture of the slides. So I'll build a deck for the purpose of internal communication of interesting content that I saw, or interesting points of view that I saw, or an interesting delivery of content that I saw, and make that available to anybody else in the organization. If it's a conference to which we sponsored, let's say, then there's practical sales things you have to do, right? You've got to have a list of people that you met, and a list of opportunities that get created that goes in Salesforce, a list of leads that we should follow up on, a list of new people you met that you need to go to LinkedIn and attach to, or send them an individual note. There's a bunch of sort of salesy activity that you now have to do over the next few days.
So, yeah, I would say all of that. Try to do as much of the initial contact as close to the initial contact as possible. Right? Like I find if I have a conversation with someone and I hit them up on LinkedIn right after, they accept and it keeps it kind of fresh. If I wait a week, they may or may not. You know what I mean? Like a week later, I kind of feel like I have to put a note in.
Do you do any live LinkedIn? Like I never do live LinkedIn. Like say, hey, key in your name.
I will. I will do it sometimes. I will do it at the table.
Okay.
Yeah, just depends. One of the things I did that I still think is smart, I carry business cards. You still hand out business cards from time to time, but I've avoided handing them out just by putting a QR code to my LinkedIn. It's just a URL redirect using a QR code.
Right.
When someone wants to get a hold of me, hey, here's my LinkedIn. Just scan it. You can add me right now.
Smart.
That tends to be a big win, right? Because then it's like, look, I don't sell anybody on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? You don't get lost in the endless kind of email flow, that river of garbage that tends to flow into the trash can.
Right.
And it's kind of instant and immediate connection. So that tends to work well for people.
I also insist on meeting invites. So especially if the seller is the one taking me around, right, or marketing is taking me around, I want to remember who I met. So if you create a meeting invite, then I now will know, right? I know the person, I have their email address. I'll easily be able to recollect the things I need to do when I get back.
Yeah, without a doubt. I have nothing but meeting invites for every conference that I go to. Matter of fact, the better conferences that I go to are the ones that are the tightest scheduled. Like I never have to wonder where I'm supposed to be. I know exactly where I'm supposed to be. I know the person I'm meeting. I know the booth we're going to be in, right? Like, and then I that's my log, right? I frequently will refer to that. Hey, who did you talk to? Oh, that was Black Hat. Okay, that was this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, bang. I can, they're with this company. I talked to this person. I use that like crazy. Yeah, it's mandatory.
Right. Do you put in pre-calendar invites? So you go through the schedule beforehand, and you download into CSV
No.
and you upload into your calendar, so you already have sort of preset.
Well, my calendar is already here, and if I'm going to go, like when I log into the Black Hat app and I set my schedule,
Yeah.
my assistant will go through and take all of that and put it on my calendar.
Nice. It's not just downloadable and importable.
I don't have to care.
Okay. Easier.
I mean, no, it's very easy. Here's my username. I mean, they already have my username and password because they registered me.
Yeah, that seems like a security flaw.
Really? It has no PII in it and no payment methodology in it.
No, they couldn't use your ID to figure out where you live and what your payment information was.
From that, no, it doesn't have my home address in it. It's got like a Dropbox address in it.
I see.
Yeah, I don't care.
Nice. All right, Carlos, did you learn anything?
Yeah, we learned a lot. I'm gonna be going back through the whole process, getting my notes for the next season of conferences this next 6 months. I have probably 3 that I know that I'm already booked. But for each one of you that are actually looking at this, take the time, share this with someone. This is expertise from the technical side, from the leadership side, that can help you when you go to a conference. Because the idea is like, don't just go and, like Howard said, don't just go and get the swag. You can buy the swag. It's what you learn and who you connect to. So my friends, make sure that you share, subscribe, and we'll see you on our next episode.